In his final press conference of the 2019 season, Seahawks head coach Pete Carroll said it was important to him to keep continuity alive on the offensive line. That was always going to be a tough task. Mike Iupati and tackles Jermaine Ifedi and George Fant were set to become unrestricted free agents. Center Justin Britt was coming off of an ACL tear and carried a little over $11 million against the cap. Now, the Seahawks lost Ifedi to free agency, but by the start of the draft, they still had 4 of last year's 5 starters under contract. But with 2 of those players having since been released, in right guard DJ Fluker and center Justin Britt, the Seahawks selection of LSU guard Damien Lewis makes a lot more sense. So what kind of player are the Seahawks getting in LSU guard Damien Lewis, who they selected with their 69th overall pick in this year's draft? And how can he make the cut in what's now a very packed offensive line room? That's the question we explored in this offseason profile brought to you by Divorce Lawyers for Men, obviously focusing on new Seahawks guard Damien Lewis, specifically how he can make this team and what former Seahawk he reminds Jake Heaps of. You can listen to Jake Heaps' full breakdown of Lewis on 710sports.com and our Tom, Jake, and Stacy podcast page, but here's a quick video preview. Coming out of high school, Lewis had 0 scholarship offers, so instead he took the junior college route, where he earned second-team JUCO All-American honors. His performance brought interest from several schools, including Ole Miss, but he finally settled on LSU. He became a 2-year starter for the eventual national championship Tigers and was part of an offensive line that earned the Joe Moore Award. Here's what Jake Heaps had to say. He said Lewis reminds him a lot of DJ Fluker, the guy he might be replacing at right guard. That competition was already on before Fluker left. Pete Carroll was asked about Lewis's place on the offensive line right after the draft in day 2. And Pete Carroll said that he won't be taking a backseat to anyone. He'd be competing for starting time right away. 2 other favorite things I have about his profile. One is that his NFL.com scouting profile says that he is a forklift dressed as a human. The second, Katie! The second is that he can squat 635 pounds. I know that that's maybe not like the most important thing about someone. I just think that's like freakishly strong. Now, in all of these profiles, we have a section we call the big question. And for a rookie, there are always going to be a lot of questions. But if there's one for Lewis, it's going to be whether he can beat out the competition in the offensive line room and start right away. Of all the rookies the Seahawks picked up this year, I honestly think Lewis is right at the top of that group of guys that will probably be able to start much closer to week 1 than will other guys. Now, part of that is because the competition's already out of the way, with DJ Fluker having been released. But another part of it is that the Seahawks were very careful to draft guys this year that they felt like would be able to contribute early. That's not a coincidence. It's in part because of that shortened offseason with COVID-19. Drafting a guy from the best offensive line in the country on a national championship team was intentional. And maybe there was some insight there with Pete Carroll's relationship with Ed Orgeron. It won't be easy, though. There are other Seahawks guards that have more experience over him. He's going to have to beat out guys like Ethan Posick and Phil Haynes. But I agree with Jake here. He says if there's one advantage Lewis has in this competition, it's the system that he came from. The Tigers are no joke, so. For more information from Jake Heaps' analysis of Damien Lewis, you can go to 710sports.com, click on our Tom, Jake, and Stacy podcast page. And we actually spoke with Damien Lewis after he was drafted. That's also going to be on our podcast page. Be sure to tune in every single weekday to listen to Tom, Jake, and Stacy from noon to 3 on 710 ESPN Seattle. And if you have any more questions about any of the Seahawks rookies or any Seahawks in general, Seahawks questions for this year, go ahead and leave them in the comment section of this video or under the article it's embedded in on 710sports.com.